children. Today we are going to discuss coordinate geometry, the 7th chapter of 10th standard. Before going to that topic, I would like to discuss some basic concepts which relate to this coordinate geometry. First one is axis. Axis. The horizontal axis is called x-axis. The vertical axis is called y-axis. Horizontal axis is called x-axis and the vertical axis is called y-axis. The point of intersection of these two axes is called origin. The point of intersection of x-axis and y-axis is called origin. And the x-axis and y-axis together is called coordinate axis. And we know that this axis, x-axis and y-axis, which divides a plane into 4 equal parts. The x-axis and y-axis divides a plane into 4 equal parts, that is called quadrants. X-axis and y-axis which divides a plane into 4 equal parts, that is called quadrant. So this is our first quadrant and this is our second quadrant and this one is third quadrant and this is fourth quadrant. And this x-axis is denoted by x dash and y-axis is denoted by y dash. X-axis is denoted by x dash and y-axis is denoted by y dash. Now, let we have one arbitrary point P in the first quadrant. Suppose we have one arbitrary point in the first quadrant. Let it be P. Now just draw one line which is perpendicular to x-axis. Then that line will meet your x-axis at a particular point. Let it be x. Now draw one more line which is perpendicular to y-axis. And that line will meet your y-axis at a particular point. Let it be y. Then the ordinate pair x comma y is called coordinates. The ordinate pair x comma y is called coordinates. In that coordinates, that first entry is called x coordinate or abscissa. X coordinate or abscissa. And the second entry is called y coordinate or simply ordinate. So suppose we have an arbitrary point P, then draw one line which is perpendicular to x-axis from that point, then that line will meet your x-axis at a particular point. That point, let it be x. Draw one more line which is perpendicular to your y-axis and that line will meet your y-axis at a particular point. Let it be y. Then that ordinate pair x comma y is called the coordinates. Then the first entry is called x coordinate or abscissa. The second entry is called the y coordinate or ordinate. Now, what about the sign in that sign of a point in the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant and fourth quadrant? Okay, before going to that, to the right of this origin, we will have positive values on x-axis. To the right of this origin, we will have positive values on x-axis. To the left of this origin, we will have negative values on x-axis. The above of origin, we will have positive values on y-axis. Below of that origin, we will have negative values on y-axis. So, to the right of the origin, we will have positive values on x-axis, negative values on x-axis to the left of origin. In the above of origin, we will have positive values on y-axis, and below of that origin, we will have negative values on y-axis. So, suppose you have one point in the first quadrant And the first quadrant, just look at this x-axis and y-axis. X coordinates we have positive, x-axis we have positive values, and y-axis also we have positive value. So the coordinate of a point in the first quadrant will be in the form positive comma positive. The x coordinate and y coordinate is positive in the first quadrant. And the second quadrant, on the x-axis we have negative value, y-axis we have positive value. So the x coordinate of a point in the second quadrant is negative and y coordinate is positive. Third quadrant, x-axis we have negative value, y-axis also we have negative value. So the coordinate of a point in the third quadrant will be in the form negative comma negative. Now in the last quadrant, fourth quadrant, x coordinates is positive and y coordinates is negative. X coordinates positive, y coordinate negative. So if you have one point in the first quadrant, that point coordinates will be in the form positive comma positive, second quadrant negative comma positive, third quadrant negative comma negative, fourth quadrant positive comma negative. Now suppose you have one point on x-axis. Suppose you have one point on x-axis, then suppose this is your point, the coordinate of that point is 3, 0. And if you have a point on y-axis, suppose this is your point, then the coordinates of a point is 0, 3. 0, 3. From this point, if you draw one line which is perpendicular to your x-axis, draw one line which is perpendicular to your x-axis, that will meet at origin. So you have 0 here and the y coordinate is 3. Similarly, here the coordinates of a point is ordered by 3, 0. So in general, if a point lies on x-axis, then the coordinates of that point is x, 0, y coordinate is 0. If you have one point which lies on y-axis, then the x coordinate of that point equal to 0. So if you have one point which lies on x-axis, then the coordinate of that point will be in the form ordered pair x, 0. And if it is on y-axis, then the coordinates of that point will be in the form ordered pair 0, y.